Welcome back to another video. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Max, and I started a car rental company back in 2021 with my brother Zach. And we started with one car, we bought another car, then we bought another car, put my own car in the mix, and it slowly snowballed until we had 20 cars before we even knew it. We had no idea what we were doing when we got started, and we slowly got an idea after we made a bunch of mistakes and learned a lot of lessons. But today I want to talk about the top 5 cars that we've learned do the best on Turo as far as profitability and return on investment. I see tons of people doing videos on stuff like this, and the problem is they'll talk about Porsche or BMW or more of those higher end cars, and the problem is, sure, they get good money every single month, but what are you paying to get them? So the return on investment, the actual ROI on the vehicles is something that we really focus on, and we want to make it as high as possible. So return on investment on a Porsche versus maybe a Kia Rio. Sure, the Kia Rio is not as glamorous and nice, but the return on investment and the depreciation is going to be much better than on, let's say, a Porsche, an average Porsche. So jumping into the video, so just to give you a little bit of a breakdown, all of these cars are based on the research that we've done and the stuff that we have rented out ourselves. So we've rented out tons of different kinds of cars, and this is just from what we've learned, and these are from our metrics. So these aren't stuff we're looking up on the internet and pulling other people's numbers. These are our personal numbers for these vehicles. So getting started at the top of the list, and it's at the top for a reason. We bought this car about 6 months ago, bought it for $10,000, 27,000 miles. It was 2013, so a little older, but the low miles and how clean it was a huge factor in this. And that was our 2013 Hyundai Elantra. Again, we bought it for $10,000, and as of right now, we're in, it's April, it's mid-April right now, and we've made $4,500 on Turo, and we've made $1,100 on private reservations. So this car has absolutely killed it. $5,600 so far, over the past, since January of this year. So it's absolutely killed it. And what I really like about this car is reliability, of course, the depreciation. I love just how easy it is. There's not too many problems with it, which is really nice. And of course, the return on investment, the ROI on this car is insane. We have this big rule that we follow, and it's the 10% rule, which means every car that we buy needs to make 10% of what we buy it for. So if we buy a car that's $10,000 or $20,000, the car needs to make, if it's $10,000, $1,000 a month. If it's $20,000, $2,000 a month. So pretty simple. A lot of people have trouble following that or can't because they just don't do the right metrics, but it's doable, and it's definitely easily doable. So second car on our list is our Chevy Malibus. And the reason I like these is because they're a little nicer. They're a little nicer, but they're really nice because you can rent them out on Turo, and then you can rent them really easily on private reservations, just because everyone's always looking for these. Like, these are hot commodities, super high utilization. Everybody loves these cars. They stay clean. The reliability is just through the roof. Depreciation is amazing because they don't depreciate too quickly, and they're just overall great cars. So the one that I'm going to talk about today, we bought for $12,000, and as of right now, we've made about $5,400 on Turo, and then about $800 to $1,000. I say about $850 on private reservations. So this car has absolutely killed it. When we bought it, this was a 2017. When we bought it, it only had 45,000 miles. And that's also part of something that we do, is we want to make sure the cars have low miles. We want to make sure that they're all clean titles, of course, because you need to on Turo. Clean cars overall, make sure there's no mechanical or big problems with the cars. And if there's maybe it needs to be repainted somewhere or needs a new bumper, we want to use that in negotiating so you can get a better deal. Okay, so that car is done really well. Super high utilization for us. Absolutely love it. The next car, which is a classic, this is where we got started. It was our bread and butter, and those are Ford Fiestas and Focuses. When we got started, our main number was we want to buy a Ford Fiesta anywhere from 2015 to 2020. We never bought any that new, but within that range, we wanted them to be 30 to 40,000 miles, which is low, and then we wanted them to have clean titles, of course, and just be overall clean car. We ended up buying a ton. I mean, we bought one for $6,500. No, it wasn't $6,500. It was $5,800. It had 50,000 miles, which is a little more than what we wanted, but we got such a good deal on it, it didn't matter. Ran great. It's done super well for us. That car alone did $12,000 last year in Turo revenue. But normally our metric is we want to buy it for $10,000 because we know that it can make about $1,000 a month. And then we sell it, and it has very little depreciation. So that's an amazing car. The Fiestas and the Focuses. The only thing to watch out for is some years and some models have transmission problems and maybe clutch problems. So we haven't quite ran into that yet. I've heard about it. I've heard about people talking about that. They comment on our stuff and say that. And I know that there's certain years and certain models for it, but we haven't ran into that yet. But that is something to keep an eye out for. The next one, which is kind of in that same realm, is a Kia Rio. We had two Kia Rios. We sold one a couple months ago, and we had one that we loved. We bought it for $8,600. It ran, I mean, it made anywhere from $900 on a really slow month to, I think on a really good month, it did like $1,400, which was crazy, super crazy. That car did really, really well. We had it, I mean, we only had it for like 4 months. It was a very short period of time because somebody took it to Mexico. Border Patrol seized it, and Turo had to pay us out. We had to wait 6 months because they couldn't get the car back. And Turo paid us out, like they did a total loss on it, which sucked because we lost a car that was generating revenue, but it was awesome because they paid us out with our deductible and everything. It was like $12,500 or something, or maybe just $12,000, but we ended up making money not only on buying and selling it, but we also made money on the rentals. And the maintenance was, we had like one problem with it. We had to fix some bolt on it. But that was like something that rarely happens. That was something that we should have saw when we bought it. Super good car, really good ROI. Highly recommend those. If you can get those at a good price, $8,000 to $10,000 range, low miles, those do really well, especially in Arizona. The next car that I'm going to talk about, which was our second car on Turo, is a Ford Fusion. These are crazy. These have super high utilization. People rent these for really good day rates, and overall they make good money every single month. So we had the first Fusion that we put into our rental system was my personal. It's a 2014 Ford Fusion, and at the time it had maybe 60,000 or 70,000 miles. I just put it for my own because we didn't have any metrics to follow or anything. And the car we bought before that was a Polaris Slingshot, which we paid, I think, $20,000 for. My Fusion was worth probably 10, maybe 9. And we were renting the Slingshot out for, I'd say, an average of $1,000 to $1,200 a month. But the Fusion, believe it or not, was making roughly that same amount. I mean, maybe 100 or 200 less than that every month. But it was keeping up with the Slingshot, which I think is funny. And this is where we started to get the metric of 10%, because why would you spend $20,000 on a car when you can make the same amount with $10,000 or $9,000? So that's kind of where we started to come up with that number. And then as we bought more cars, it solidified those numbers, and we knew that we could hit that. But just funny to think about. You can buy a car for twice the amount, and they can make half the amount. So those are the top 5 cars. They've all done really well. There hasn't been any big issues with any of them. Oil changes, of course, tires. You got to watch out for the windshields. Just the little stuff. Nothing crazy quite yet, and we're hoping we don't run into anything crazy. But again, so the top 5 on our list is Hyundai Elantra, Chevy Malibu, Ford Fiesta or Focus, Ford Fusion, and Kia Rio. And if I were to give one, this is the one to get started, I would probably say, if you can get it at the right price, I would say Hyundai Elantra. If you can't get it at the right price, I would say probably a Chevy Malibu, just because of utilization. That's a big thing. You want to make sure that the car is always rented out and isn't just sitting at your house or sitting in your office or whatever. So that's what I would suggest, and that's what we're looking at buying. We're looking at buying more Chevy Malibus. We want to buy more Ford Fusions. There's tons of things we want to buy. We want to double our fleet by next year. So those are my top 5 cars that I think are good in a fleet. I hope you learned something, and if you want to see anything else, just comment what you'd like to see in maybe the next future videos, and we'll see you in the next one.